Welcome into this special edition of your 5 News First at 4. I'm Erika Thomas. This is 5 News Listens, a roundtable discussion with community leaders about race relations in our area. Our panelists this afternoon include William Lang, campus pastor at Restoration Church of Northwest Arkansas; Danyelle Musselman, former sports journalist and wife of Arkansas men's basketball coach Erika Musselman; Talicia Richardson, Fort Smith School Board member and community activist; and Jamie Fields, Deputy Chief of Police in Fayetteville. Thank you all for being with us this afternoon on Zoom, along with my co-host, 5 News This Morning anchor Ruben Diaz.
How is everybody today? We're going to have a great opportunity to open some real doors of discussion. Erika and I are both very excited to be taking part in this.
Thank you for having us.
So we all know 2 weeks ago, George Floyd died while in police custody in Minnesota. Outrage over his death has sparked protests across this country and worldwide. And last week, thousands of people gathered in both Fayetteville and Bentonville for Black Lives Matter protests. A number of cities in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley have organized protests. So, Talicia, I'd like to begin with you. What is it about Floyd's death and this time in our history that's sparking such a nationwide movement?
I think that it is jarring at something that has existed for a while. And it's been captured on video time and time again. And I think it's timing. And the timing of Breonna Taylor, the timing of Ahmaud Arbery, and in addition to that, us all being confined due to COVID-19, is causing people to just sit, be still for a moment, and to reflect. And unfortunately, we had this untimely situation occur, but in a positive light, it has jarred something that has already been there to provoke the conversation that needs to be had, not only in the United States, but across the globe.
And that's part of what we want to do here today, is provoke that conversation and listen to the community. And I know, Ruben, this all stems on personal experiences of racism as we have these larger movements across the country, right?
Exactly. And to me, that's a big part of what the next step has to be, is sometimes, for lack of a better way to put it, some people just don't have any knowledge of the experiences that other people have had. Some people do and choose to ignore it, but some people don't. So what we're really hoping that we can do today is share some personal experiences too. You're all leaders in your fields. You're all vocal in other ways, but how much about your personal experience does anybody know? And Pastor Lang, I would let's start with you. We're hoping everybody will share a little bit of a personal experience of some of the racism and some of the hostility, or maybe some of the issues that you've dealt with over the years.
Well, for me, of course, I can share many stories, but I will just share one in particular. Since I've been here in Northwest Arkansas, I say one, but it's multiple that happen in different times, but it's all the same scenario. And so one of those things is actually just driving late at night, and I have had to set it in my mind to not be out past 10, 11 o'clock at night, because I just don't want to get pulled over. I don't want to get stopped for no reason at all. And I've had it happen several times in Fayetteville and also the surrounding towns here in Northwest Arkansas, just getting pulled over, just the bright light, the spotlight is shining on me as I'm driving by, and I know I'm about to get pulled over. One incident, I thought that they were going to pull over another car because they came speeding past me. I'm like, oh man, they're fixing to come get them after they shine the spotlight. I'm like, they're fixing to go get them and give them a ticket because they were speeding. Well, no, they jumped right in behind me. The other car veered off and turned to the right and left and got behind me, pulled me over, and gave me a reason why he pulled me over, but never gave me a ticket for it. And I knew why he pulled me over, and I actually said it. And those are the things I started getting fed up with getting pulled over for no reason. And now if I did something, I'm all for it. But when it was for no reason, you started to get frustrated. And that's what happened with me on many occasions here in Northwest Arkansas, are those incidents.
And I have a story
yeah, exactly.
That is similar. It didn't take place here in Northwest Arkansas, but it's something that now I'm just starting to share more, because I can honestly say whenever it happened, the only person I believe that I told was my husband, because it was so embarrassing, and I couldn't even believe what happened. But I was driving with my daughter, who was 3 at the time. She was in a car seat in the back of my car. and I had a Mercedes that was brand new. And because it was new, I still had dealer tags on the car. Didn't even have a license plate yet. And I was pulled over. Wasn't speeding, didn't run a stop sign, didn't commit any traffic violation, but I was pulled over. And then one car came, and then another cop came. I was literally surrounded by 2 police, and I was accused of stealing the car. And it was the first time something that blatant had ever happened to me. And so I just remember, I was literally shaking, and here I am, just a mom with a 3-year-old in the back car of a car seat. And it's something that in our discussions this week with our daughter, I told her the story, and I said, you were 3 years old in a car seat sitting in the back of your car, and this happened.
As those instances are not uncommon for other people. I know that, Erika, I know you're getting the time cues. How are we doing on time right now? Do we have time to share more? Do we need to go to break and come back and share the rest of these stories?
We have a couple of minutes in this block left. So Talicia, would you like to weigh in?
Well, I can share one personal to me. As a child growing up in Fort Smith, my parents didn't have race discussions around the table. They're hardworking people. They went to work and came home. And one recent story that I shared that I never shared with them, and I shared it in a Facebook Live conversation, if you will, was an instance where I was walking home from a corner store after picking up, bread and things like that. And I was 7 to 8 years old. And on my way back, I had some guys who decided to have an open beer can. And they threw the beer can at me open and called me the N-word. And as a child, I'd never been called that before. I really didn't know what it meant. But what I did know was that I had alcohol on me. I had beer on me. So I ran in the house. I went down into me and my brother's bathroom and quickly washed the drink off, just simply because I didn't want to get in trouble. So again, the naivete of children at this stage, I think is very, very important, because discussions that we're having today can prompt parents and grandparents to have those discussions with their children and grandchildren, to let them know these things have happened in the past and they may still be happening in some of our communities. And that's where that discussion needs to take place. Because again, I didn't have that happen just haphazardly. I was targeted in my neighborhood and never told my parents about it. And they don't know to this day unless they watch that Facebook Live post.
I know we got to take a break. Erika, when we come back, I may share one more of mine. And then Jamie, we'd love to get you to weigh in, and because racism goes both ways, right? And we'd love to get your weigh in and on your experiences of what you've seen and what you've experienced, and maybe share a story of yours as well.
We'll be right back. Welcome back into 5 News Listens, a roundtable discussion with panelists talking about racism in Arkansas and in America. Before the break, we heard some personal stories from a number of our panelists about how they've been discriminated against. And Ruben, I know that you have also faced that discrimination in your life. Can you share with us a little bit about what you've been through?
Yeah, I'll just be pretty brief because I want to get to Jamie as well. Some of you may know, I went to high school in Talicia, which is just across the border of the River Valley. So I didn't go to school high school that far away, and I graduated in '97 to age myself. But just for a little perspective of time and date, I wasn't allowed to date anybody at Talicia. None of the girls could date me because I was Black. There were me and maybe 2 or 3 other Black guys at school there. None of us could have high school girlfriends. We could have secret girlfriends, but there was no way we could date anybody because their parents would never allow them to date a Black guy. And I don't think people understand how prevalent that was, and probably still is to some degree, until maybe when the kids go off to college. But those things really happen to people. They happened to me personally. I didn't even have a girlfriend in high school for most of high school because of that reason, just because of the color of my skin. Jamie, I'd love for you to share as well. I know you've probably had a ton of experiences over time, and we'd love to get you keyed in on this one as well.
Sure. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this important conversation. I can remember as a young patrol officer making a traffic stop for a minor traffic violation. And immediately when I spoke to the driver, he said, "You stopped me because I was Black." And I was so taken aback and I didn't understand. And I was frustrated because I thought I don't know you and you don't know me. And I didn't know you were Black when I stopped this car. But, you know, that conversation has stuck with me all these years, 26 years, because as I talked to many people in our community, as I had more education, as I've had more training, I have a better understanding of implicit bias and institutional bias and implicit, you know, I understand a little better. I understand that I've not walked in your shoes and I've not had your experiences. And I think that a lot of times police officers do not understand. They do not understand the fear that you feel just by being in the presence of a police officer. And that's heartbreaking to me in Fayetteville, Arkansas in 2020, that someone here would be afraid of the police.
I know we only have a couple of minutes left in this segment, but I do want to ask, these are tough conversations, right? What we're saying right now, many people may have never had these conversations with someone that they know or don't know. And how do you continue to spark these conversations and have them openly and honestly?
I think I have had people reach out to me. I mean, I receive text messages from people on a daily basis just asking what they can do. I've had people who have texted me and said, you know, my parents were racist, basically apologizing. I said, you can't determine who your parents are any more than I can. And that's not what you need to apologize for, but you need to recognize what you came from and make sure that you are not passing that on to the next generation. So in my case, the only people that I have started a conversation with have been my daughter, my 10-year-old daughter, who we had to have the hard conversations this week about what's going on. I didn't get into detail about protests and you know exactly what happened to George Floyd because I just think that's a little heavy for her age. But you know, we talked about different things and I shared my stories, and it's just really important. It doesn't matter how, you know, young your kids are, you need to start that conversation so that we raise the next generation to be anti-racist.
And I think that's where we want to pursue this conversation here on the other side of this break and continue that conversation of what we do for the next generation. We'll be right back with that. The conversation continues here on 5 News Listens as we are talking about having these tough conversations about race in our communities. Before the break, we were talking about having those conversations with the next generation. I know a number of us are parents and having those conversations with kids. But then there's another side to that, is having conversations with our peers and with other adults. Pastor, maybe you can weigh in on how do you start that conversation with someone who may think differently than you and have it openly and honestly without maybe hostility or anger involved?
And that's one of the things that is most important, is having those conversations with peers. And like Danyelle said earlier, I've had several people reach out to me, text me, message me, email from different pastors and pastors in the community, white pastors. And of course, one of my real good friends, Pastor Steve Curtis, you know, I was going to reach out to him that Saturday morning, but turned out he reached out to me. He beat me to it. He called me and he wanted to talk. He wanted to have the conversation. And I've likened it to this, is that construction work is really messy. It's really messy when construction is going on. Like, I just got caught up in a detour. It caused me to have to detour, but it's necessary to build what needs to be built. And so, you know, people might not understand what's going on. People might not understand how to bring things together, but the ones who created it, and I'm talking about God the Father, who is our creator. He's created us all, Black, white, Asian, Hispanics, all of us. He's created us, but we need to learn to have those hard conversations and be okay with the differences when it comes to, hey, I didn't have that experience. I didn't grow up like that, but I understand, not in the sense where I can feel your pain, but I know you as my friend. I know you've gone through some pain, and I want to be there to stand alongside you, and I want to walk through this with you, and I want to know more. I want to understand more, and it works both ways. Pastor, some of the pastors that I got to talk to, we've had those hard conversations where they've asked questions that was something that they couldn't fathom. Like, man, I don't even know how that feels. I don't even know what that looked like. I told them, I said, you don't know how shaken I get when I even have a police officer behind me. I know I didn't do anything wrong, but I'm shaking because I don't know what could happen. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know we're gonna run out of time on this segment. We can spend a lot of time on this, but I think it's very crucial that we talk to Jamie next about part of that conversation from us on our end is also asking the police how they have that conversation both internally and we talk a lot about the term community policing. What does that really mean, and what steps, what things are the police departments willing and able to do to get rid of some of that fear that we have, to get rid of some of of those issues that we're talking about right now today?
Sure. Thank you for asking that question. I think it's important, first of all, for me to say, in my almost 30 years of the Fayetteville Police Department, have never witnessed overt racism here. We understand that everybody has implicit bias. We may not be aware of biases that we have, but we would never tolerate overt behavior in this environment. I will say that it's important for us to be open to conversations, uncomfortable conversations, and it's important for us to try to understand other people's experiences when they talk to us about them. And just because that's not an experience that we've had doesn't mean that the fear or the pain is not real, because it is. And I think one thing that the Fayetteville Police Department, you refer to community policing, is we're being intentional in trying to work with our minority communities especially, but a really important component for us is in our training. We had living room conversations, some people refer to them as couch conversations this year, where community members invited us into their homes to have small group discussions. Some of those discussions can be quite uncomfortable, but they're really crucial. We've had training from the Racial Equity Institute this year. We've had training on implicit bias and racial inequality. All of these things are so important just for us to have a better understanding of what we don't know and to be open to those conversations.
Yeah, I think we want to continue moving that understanding forward, both here in this platform and then also in real life, and taking those conversations, probably off social media as well, and making sure that you're having them face to face with others. We want to get a final thought from all of you. That's going to be coming up right after this break. Welcome back into 5 News Listens, where we've been talking for the last 25 minutes or so with our panel of community leaders here. And we want to leave you with everyone's final thoughts of your message for people at home who are listening and want to be part of this conversation. Danyelle, we'll start with you. What's your message?
Well, we've just kind of danced around it for 20 something minutes, but have empathy and imagine yourself in other people's shoes. I'm fortunate to know people of all races, religions, sexual genders, everything. And so I know part of what those experiences are like, and I just challenge everyone to do the very same thing.
Talicia?
Mine is to find your voice in your forum or platform. And it's okay to be uncomfortable. Be okay with the discomfort of the conversation. I've made several people uncomfortable, but it's a start. It's a start. And there's so many people right now that have held back, and they've worn a mask to hide their feelings because they did not want to offend, or they did not want to upset an opportunity. So my suggestion is, again, find your voice, your platform, and again, just be okay with the discomfort.
Pastor?
Well, one thing I would say is just get outside of your own sphere of your comfort zone. To piggyback off of that, how many Black people have you talked to? How many Black people have you spent time with? And vice versa. Just getting outside of your sphere and staying just comfortable in your own little bubble to get to know somebody else, to get to know other cultures and what it is that makes them tick and what it is that helps them. But the most important thing is love. Just us loving one another and being okay with the differences. We're all created in God's image, but we're different shades of colors. But just be okay with that. It's perfectly fine.
And Deputy Chief?
Thank you. For our community, I want you to know that by and large, law enforcement officers are honorable men and women who earnestly seek to serve their community, ask questions and expect answers, hold us accountable, and we'll be holding each other accountable. And to police officers, I want to say, do not be disheartened. Your community loves and supports you. Do right. Go out to work every day and serve your community to the best of your ability. Be open-minded and be kind to others. We're going to get through this together.
Great points there. I do want to mention that, Talicia, you mentioned that Fort Smith Police Department is doing the same thing that Fayetteville's doing right now as far as doing this couch discussions. We didn't want to leave them out, so I think it's important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
If you were asking me my final thoughts and kind of what, as we wrap all this stuff around, I would say that as you're growing through this thing, at some point, everybody has to start looking forward, right? Like, we can all look back forever and we can be angry forever, but at some point we're going to have to hold hands and walk through the fire together, because that's the only way we're going to get there. So don't be afraid to upset the cart. Don't be afraid to challenge the norm. Don't be afraid to stand up, even if you're the only one standing up in the crowd, because sometimes it just takes that one person to stand up for other people to realize that there's something we're standing for.
Thank you all so much for your time this afternoon. I think someone brought up, that it's hard to believe that we're at this point in 2020. Well, we get to this point where we are today based on our previous choices and based on our history. So the question from this point forward is, how do we continue into our future and make this a world that everyone is proud to be a part of? So we appreciate all of you for weighing in this afternoon and being part of this discussion. This is just scratching the surface, just the tip of the iceberg, and we hope to continue it offline as well as on social media. So thank you guys for joining us this afternoon and taking your time. We will have this full discussion available over on our website, 5 News Online, as well as over on our YouTube page once this is finished. So thank you guys for joining us this afternoon. We'll have much more news headed your way coming up on your 5 News at 5 this afternoon in 30 minutes. For now, have a wonderful afternoon, and Jeopardy is up next.